Done.
Good morning.
I still have Scooby-Doo pulled up from last night while we were handing out candy to trick-or-treaters. Hello, good morning, happy NaNoWriMo, day one. Oh my god, I can still hear the sleep in my throat. I have come across my first conundrum. Okay, as I am working on a revision project, there comes a moment where I need to ask myself how I'm going to track for NaNoWriMo. And despite all of the prep I did not answer this question. I forgot about this question, frankly. So I have added 406 words to this scene that is now 2,348 words, okay? It is the first scene on my board that I get to take off. Now, part of this scene, actually, what? 1,900 words, 1,800 words of it, whatever, was written before NaNoWriMo started. However, as I'm revising, I'm really working more by scene count, by chapter count even, because there's actually multiple scenes within some of these. Some of them were standalone, some I lumped together into one little sticky note. Now I did also go back and have to reread this whole scene, make sure that everything flowed well together. I even edited some like sentences and paragraphs here and there along the way that don't ultimately add a whole lot to the word count. I think the answer is to put the entire 2,348 words onto the NaNoWriMo site for my counting purposes, because there will be other times when I don't finish a scene. I don't get to take something off the board or cross through half of it, you know? You see my thought process. Revision, I so often count by scene, so because I finished a scene, I feel like it needs to be counted. Update. Oh wow, you can see it in the reflection on my phone. All right. Laptop home. Feeling so good. Update progress. Woo. See, it still feels a little weird. I will not lie, but that's how it's always been when I've been at NaNoWriMo. When you're not doing just like the true 50K or so, always a smidge weird. But ultimately, when I have to write half a scene and I don't get through the end and I don't count it, oh boy, will I be feeling like I deserved it. I want to talk a little bit about the board. But first, you know what we get to do? Done. Should I keep this somewhere? We'll keep it there for now. Now, I put the board together while I was doing some of my Preptober stuff. I was inspired in part by everyone at the writing retreat I recently went on. Kitty inspired Becca to get a whiteboard and start kind of like outlining and making notes like that by hand, but so that you can always see your story. And then Becca's on this kick of kind of, you know, NaNoWriMo of old, writing how you used to. It's kind of like a throwback thing, and it tapping into some like deep innate part of you as a writer, and it really worked. Okay, it worked because I also had an epiphany. I have been working on Project Death, this standalone fantasy, for several nanos now, several years, and I realized as I was putting all of this on the board, despite other people also telling me, hey, what if it's not a standalone? I said no, it is a standalone. I have been fighting this myself because I think the answer is it's a duology. Let's consult the board. Did I have this epiphany exactly on October 31st? Is this potentially a pre-nano panic? Yes, but also it works so well and everything makes sense and it feels like settled and right. So we're gonna go with it. Now, earlier this year, I had done a whole experiment trying to learn how to structure a series. And as I was reading Save the Cat Rides a Young Adult Novel, the duology really stood out to me. I had not had any plans to write a duology at the time, but there's a kind of perfect little section where book one stops at the midpoint, which also acts as like a nice little bit of suspense. And then book two takes up series Act 2, B, and Act 3. Now, as I was writing out all these cards, I realized that part of my problem for a while had been that the midpoint was a little bit off. I had been trying to squeeze my book so that it would be shorter on word count, and I was finding that even though I was taking away parts that were kind of extraneous, or I was lumping them in with something else, so I was getting rid of some word count, it was just a chunky book. And as I was reevaluating and doing all of this prep for Nano, I realized the midpoint was slightly off, and unfortunately, or fortunately as it all turns out, it was going to make the book even longer for it to really be what it needed to be. However, with the new midpoint, we basically have book 1 being her joining the house and book 2 her destroying the house. Or as my friend Jess, who has read Project Death and is my critique partner, said, book 1 is her villain arc and book 2 is her redemption arc. Villain is in quotes. And I think it just works. It works. It works so well. It's almost like this is what it was always supposed to be. But I'd said it was a standalone for so long, I think I just never let my brain think about what it could be if it was a duology instead. Anyhow, so the plus side is as we go through November and as I tick off and get to take away some of these cards, I'm extremely excited to finish book 1. My hope though is still to get into at least book 2. This does mean I'll be able to give this to Jessica and some other readers, book 1, earlier than expected, which is awesome. And then Jessica can confirm this actually does all work out, but it feels so good. It feels like it's, you know, when something's off in your story and you just have like this nagging sensation in the back of your brain and you don't know what it is. I've had that for a while with Project Death and I just have not been able to pinpoint it. And that voice now, silent, gone, disappeared. So I'm gonna count my 2,000-ish words as a win. We're going to move on to this scene right here. So we're still meeting some important characters, namely the prince, who we've not fully gotten to meet yet. We got a whole thing with him. He's going to be very important to ultimately help take down the house and the castle in the end. So things on the list. 2 days ago, the armor tricked the cousin into death. He's gone. So we get to see kind of like this juxtaposition before the death and now after the death. We get to see like a kind of sense of fear, which in theory, if no one can kill, there should not be this sense of fear, but some people know about the house. So it kind of trickles out. That's going to need to be more vibes than explicitly said. So I get to play around with that. We are going to run into the prince and he is going to say that he's glad his cousin is dead because his cousin sucked. We're gonna learn more about the house as Twilby needs to ask if the armorer, who's already like a legit member of the house, knows who requested the cousin's death. We're gonna get to build out a kind of hierarchy of the house that it's not so obvious. And then we need to have another sort of B-story character just around about observing. So I'm gonna refine this based off of my note card and also brain dump any more specific ideas before I start writing. Okay, my notes have been transformed. 172 words. Though some scenes earlier in the revision I was able to kind of copy and paste, from here on out I can definitely take bits and bobs of the last draft, but I cannot copy paste anything directly. Too much has changed. A version of this scene did exist in draft 4, but for example the other B-story character wasn't there, and also we don't really get the reveal about the hierarchy of the house here. Both changes that I think will make things much better, but yeah, just didn't have it, so can't really copy paste it in the same way. And the conversation between the prince will have to change slightly because geographically, like within the castle, they are in a different spot. These are the things that as you revise. Good morning. I think we're gonna go with this NaNoWriMo mug today. I think I'm also going to now take a little bit of a journaling break, just briefly. It's interesting, NaNoWriMo is such a good time to like test out new habits. And my new habits that I'm trying to commit to are daily journaling and also daily yoga. I got some of my blood work back, so I think my doctor is going to yell at me. NaNoWriMo day 2, I'm gonna get yelled at. And so I'm gonna try and make these changes kind of in tandem. NaNoWriMo has the ability to sort of like take over your life, and I love when that happens, but also I'd love it to like help me also take over my life with other good habits. Does that make sense? I don't know. We're gonna go with it. I still have some of my cappuccino left, so time to write until I don't anymore. All right, the scene is setting up nicely. Not too many words in it yet. It's one of my favorite things that despite having written the scene before several times, we always have to meet the prince except for that one draft where I took him out completely. I realized the error of my ways. It's so fun how I can still have a little epiphany. It's the wake of the death of the cousin, basically, like in the chaos as they have to organize for this huge death ceremony, a royal death ceremony. All the voices are sort of echoing in this large foyer kind of area of the castle, and we have this moment where everyone sort of, they realize that someone royal's there, they bow, and then he kind of waves them on, and one person's like, oh, it's just the young prince, like it's just, like, we don't really care about that one. But their voice carries more than they think. It is not quite so disguised despite the number of people there, so we get to overhear a little thing and get to see the prince's reaction. Didn't have that before. Quite fun. Good, Beth. One little sip left. Let's sneak in a little bit more. It's amazing how much better I feel after doing yoga, and yet it's always like a push to get myself to do it. But I am following along with yoga with Adrian for November. The theme's union, so I'm excited to see all my girls together. Myself do all 30 days. Yeah, not if, but that I will do them. Also, we ran out of tortillas, but you know, breakfast taco of champions. Okay. 1,367 words. But this chapter, this note card, is going to have multiple scenes within it. I actually think it's just one last small scene. So I'm going to do a little bit of note shuffling. And I am going to put some of the other notes, basically take them from there and put them in the synopsis. I like putting them at the top just so that I know what I'm working on as I write. Normally I just delete them after, but I think this will help me more at the next draft. I think what this also actually means is that I can count this scene as done. 1,195 words. And now I've technically done the first two, and I still need to do the second two. So I won't take this one off of the board just yet. So this is the end of my project death work for the day. I think I'm feeling like I've done good. I've done it, you know? I do want to point out that for my NaNoWriMo word scarf that I want to create, I am already at the maize color, which one's maize? This is mushroom. So in theory, if I don't get any words on my streaming project later today or somehow get under like 200 words, then it will be maize. This is what I will crochet for today's NaNoWriMo word scarf. Yes? This will be the first row. I do think, because I will be streaming later, that I should get more words. Now, I'm not going to be working on Project Death. I am going to be working on A Closet Full of Cauldrons, and I am starting that one over from scratch and qualifying it. I'm very excited. The first chapter was the worst chapter for me. It was still kind of difficult. I just didn't really know perfectly how to start it. When I went to reread it during Preptober, all of the rest of the scenes were actually pretty great. Like, I kind of love it. But that first chapter and a half was just like, something is wrong. It's not quite doing what it needs to do. I know it needs to start about there, but how it's starting, I'm unsure of. So I don't think we're gonna stick with this color. I think I'm gonna get some words in for sure, but we'll see. Maybe chapter 1 will stump me. I hope not. I don't want to put that out into the universe. But that is what the rest of my NaNoWriMo day 1 is going to look like. I'm going to try and go out on a little walk, take a little eye break, and then stream this afternoon. So I will leave the link for that down below if you want to join me on my second project for NaNoWriMo. We'll do some sprints, maybe using the D100, maybe the Tinkly Skull Dice, maybe some Oracle cards, you never know. But I do want to thank you for watching this far. Please do comment down below and let me know how NaNoWriMo day 1 went for you. Did you have like a pre-nano panic that you think is actually going to work out? Did you completely change projects? I know when I've been streaming the past couple days, that's what a lot of people are saying, is that they went in thinking they were gonna do one project and then totally changing it. So if that's you, let me know. Is it easier than you'd hoped it would be to get into the flow of NaNoWriMo? Are you gonna be working on NaNoWriMo later after you watch this video? Are you someone who likes to get your NaNoWriMo words in all at once? Maybe you only have one time a day that you're able to fit it in. I've definitely had NaNoWriMos where that was true for me, and you just do the best you can during that, like, you know, 45 minutes that you have. Or do you like to kind of get them throughout the day, maybe before work or like at your lunch break or after your kids go down for a nap? Let me know. What's kind of your routine and when you get the words in? But that is going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you especially to some of my new patrons this month. Victoria Rockerton, Nina Daisy Melville, Lauren Bell Miranda Plotter, hello, Hannah Willard, Eric A. Bowers, Kelly Bakers, V.E. Bravo, Allison Light, and Crystal Rose Stockman. And I will see you all very soon with a new video. Oh my god, I'll see you tomorrow with a new video.